When the girl returns to her old school, all the memories of her first love come rushing back. Their relationship had been torn apart by a tragic accident that forced them to separate for more than 10 years. The story then takes us back in time to when she was in the ninth grade. She was an outstanding student, loved by every teacher, and admired by everyone around her. On the other hand, Daniel was the complete opposite. He was a rebellious troublemaker who was always late, caused chaos around the school, ignored the morning lineup, and constantly made the other students laugh. One day, while she was presenting the morning announcements, she noticed him from afar and couldn't help but be impressed by his cheerful personality, though she tried not to show it. Soon after, the teacher scolded Daniel and his friend Luhan for arriving at school on their scooter. As punishment, he confiscated their keys and compared them to the girl, praising her as the perfect model student. Daniel, however, couldn't care less and simply ignored the lecture. Later, the girl returns home, and we discover that she lives with her grandmother because she is an orphan and her father has passed away. Since her grandmother is getting older, she decides to help support them by working as a private tutor. However, because she is still a student herself, no one believes she is qualified. So she forges her documents and lies, claiming that she is a university student. The lie works, and she is accepted for an interview. On her way there, she bumps into Daniel, and the two immediately get into a heated argument. Luhan warns Daniel that she is the student council president and could report them, but Daniel doesn't care. Instead, he sees her as a challenge. Meanwhile, her close friend Jin sends her a message reminding her that it's her birthday. She suddenly realizes she had completely forgotten her grandmother's birthday, so she rushes home, buys a cake, and celebrates with her. At the same time, Daniel and Luhan are completely obsessed with motorcycles and have almost abandoned their studies. Jin asks her how her tutoring job is going, and she explains that she has already applied and is waiting for approval. We also learn that she secretly writes detailed notes from her teacher's lectures and sells them to students before exams. Thanks to her notes, many students achieve excellent grades. She does this to earn enough money to support both herself and her grandmother. Meanwhile, Daniel's father warns him that if he doesn't improve his grades, he'll take away his motorcycle, the thing Daniel treasures most. When Daniel hears about someone known only as X, who secretly sells study notes through WhatsApp, he and Luhan decide to track this mysterious person down. They visit a local market and get X's contact information from a shopkeeper. When the girl realizes it's Daniel trying to buy the notes, she refuses to sell them because dealing with him would be too risky. This only makes Daniel suspicious. He begins investigating until he discovers that the only mysterious location connected to X is a tree inside the school grounds. Daniel searches the area and eventually finds the girl sitting beneath the tree studying. That's when he realizes she is actually X. He confronts her, but at first she denies everything. Daniel threatens to expose her and takes the notes from her. Remaining calm and confident, she tells him that her reputation is far stronger than his and that no one would ever believe his accusations. When the exams arrive, Daniel surprises all of his teachers by earning excellent grades. His teacher praises him, and Daniel genuinely begins improving. Later, he asks her for another set of notes, but she refuses at first, before finally agreeing to sell them to him, this time for double the price. Around the same time, a man who had always caused trouble returns. He demands repayment of a debt left behind by her deceased father and pressures her relentlessly. Fearing for her grandmother's safety, she promises to repay the money within 2 weeks. Unfortunately, everything falls apart when the truth about her tutoring job is exposed. Since she was still only a student, she is immediately fired. Lost and overwhelmed, she wanders the streets until she unexpectedly runs into Daniel and a woman. To her shock, the woman turns out to be her mother, who abandoned her years ago. After confronting her mother and learning the truth, Daniel proposes a deal. If she helps him improve his grades enough to study in America, they'll meet every Monday at the same place for tutoring sessions. She accepts the offer, but secretly plans to get closer to Daniel so she can learn more about her mother. Back at school, her friend Mimi helps her sneak into class after arriving late. Luhan becomes interested in the girl and jokingly suggests that she and Daniel should start dating because it would benefit their group. Daniel agrees to the tutoring arrangement, and they decide to study together every evening after 7 o'clock. However, on the very first day, Daniel doesn't show up. She goes looking for him and finds him playing PlayStation instead. She challenges him to a game. If he beats her, she'll stop forcing him to study, but if she wins, he has to attend every lesson without complaining. Confident in his gaming skills, Daniel accepts the challenge, only to lose in the end. With no choice left, Daniel begins taking the lessons seriously. As time passes, she realizes that he is actually very intelligent and learns incredibly fast. She encourages him, telling him that if he keeps working this hard, he'll earn excellent grades and achieve his dream of studying in America. Night after night, they spend hours studying together. Yet during school hours, they pretend to be complete strangers. Because she stays up late so often, Daniel asks if she has started tutoring again, but she denies it. One day, they stop by a fish shop. The girl feels sorry for the fish trapped inside plastic bags, and by coincidence, Daniel admits he was thinking exactly the same thing. That night, Daniel discovers that she has secretly bought one of the fish. She suggests they rescue it by releasing it somewhere with clean water. They first try using the school's swimming pool, but the plan fails. Afterwards, they head to an old science laboratory, hoping to use some of the containers there instead. Unfortunately, the school security guard hears them and nearly catches them. They barely escape by climbing out of a window. After that adventure, the two grow much closer. She finally admits that she had always believed Daniel was nothing more than a careless, irresponsible delinquent, but she now realizes that he is actually kind, brave, and dependable. Daniel is deeply touched because no one has ever praised him so sincerely before. Later, he walks her to the bus station and waits until she safely boards the bus before finally heading home. From that day on, Daniel truly changes. He begins taking his studies seriously, so much so that Luhan becomes frustrated and extremely jealous of how much Daniel has changed. Sometime later, Daniel buys every fish from the pet shop to help her free them into the swimming pool. However, the school security guard catches them once again. The following day, they are punished in front of the entire school. Since the girl's scholarship is at risk, Daniel takes all the blame himself and lies to protect her. Seeing him sacrifice himself for her makes her start looking at him in a completely different way. Meanwhile, Jin becomes increasingly worried. He starts keeping an eye on them, and when he sees them studying together, he tells her grandmother. Furious, her grandmother confronts her. Afterwards, she argues with Jin, but he explains that he was only worried about her. She admits that she intentionally got close to Daniel for a specific reason, but asks Jin to continue trusting her. As the exams draw near, the school's annual festival arrives, and all the students attend with their families. Daniel never expected anyone from his family to show up, but he is shocked when his stepmother, Jenny, appears. At that moment, the girl realizes that it was she who had invited Jenny to the event. She wanted to confront her because Jenny was actually her biological mother, the woman who abandoned her years ago. She had deliberately become close to Daniel just so she could reach her mother. During the festival, she asks Daniel about Jenny and learns that Daniel's father could throw Jenny out at any moment if he ever discovered the lies she had been hiding. After returning home, she is stunned to find her mother waiting for her. She pours out all the pain and resentment she has carried for years, but Jenny seems completely indifferent. The only thing she cares about is her daughter's relationship with Daniel. When Jenny learns that the girl's grandmother is seriously ill and needs expensive treatment, she offers her money on one condition: that she stay away from Daniel forever. She hands her a bank card loaded with money and warns her not to break their agreement. The girl is left heartbroken by her mother's coldness and lack of compassion. At the same time, Daniel is happier than ever because of their growing relationship. He prepares a special gift for her, a necklace designed to match the one he already owns. However, before he has the chance to give it to her, he accidentally overhears her talking with Jin. She tells Jin that she doesn't even consider Daniel a friend because they are nothing alike. Those words shatter Daniel. At first, he convinces himself that she only said them to reassure Jin, but when she begins avoiding him at school, he realizes something is seriously wrong and decides to confront her. On his way to see her on his scooter, another young man suddenly tries to hit her with his vehicle. Daniel immediately rushes forward and saves her at the last second. When Daniel stands up to him, the arrogant young man threatens him, but Daniel confidently refuses to back down. Furious, the bully tells him, Tomorrow you'll be on your knees begging me to forgive you. Your father works for my father. Daniel simply answers without fear and walks away. Later, Daniel tries to give the heroine a ride, but she refuses and chooses to take the bus instead. The next day at school, Luhan is called into the office and questioned about Daniel and the rumors that he plans to study in America. Luhan panics because if Daniel's father finds out, he'll never allow it. Before things get worse, the girl steps in and lies, claiming that the study abroad plans are actually hers because she's applying for a scholarship. Everyone believes her, and the situation is resolved. Soon, the day of the school's graduation celebration arrives. At the event, Eugene openly gets into a fight with Daniel, making it clear that the two share a painful secret from the past. After witnessing everything, the girl becomes angry with Jin and tells him to stop interfering in her life. At the same time, she says goodbye to Mimi in such a strange way that Mimi can't help but feel something is wrong. Meanwhile, Daniel loses hope that he and the girl could ever be together. Then, Luhan tells him that she once risked her own future to protect him by keeping his plans to study abroad a secret. Daniel finally realizes that her feelings are not as cold as she pretends. In reality, she misses him just as much as he misses her. Hoping to see him, she goes to the swimming pool, believing he might be there. Unfortunately, they narrowly miss each other without ever meeting. Eventually, Daniel decides to move forward with his life and continue preparing to leave for America. Before leaving, however, he becomes worried about the fish tank he had been keeping at his late mother's old house, so he asks Luhan to look after it. Instead, Luhan secretly gives the address of the house to the girl. When she arrives, Daniel is shocked to see her. Angry at Luhan for interfering in his personal affairs, he scolds him in front of her. Hurt by his reaction, she quietly leaves. Not long afterward, her life falls apart even more when her grandmother suddenly collapses and is rushed to the hospital in critical condition. The doctors explain that she needs long-term, expensive treatment. Faced with no other choice, the girl decides to postpone going to university and find a full-time job to pay the medical bills. Meanwhile, Daniel returns to his late mother's old house to stop it from being sold. There, he discovers that his father has only come to take his mother's paintings for an art exhibition. Later, Daniel starts working at a repair shop. He is excited when he hears that a university student will be joining them to help out, but he is completely surprised when that student turns out to be Mimi. During this time, the wealthy rival returns and provokes Daniel once again. He challenges him to a motorcycle race. The stakes are simple. If Daniel loses, he must kneel before him, but if Daniel wins, he gets to destroy his rival's motorcycle. Despite his rival's confidence, Daniel wins the race. Humiliated and furious, the rich young man contacts the same dangerous troublemaker to whom the girl still owes money, hoping to get revenge on Daniel. The girl overhears their plan and immediately decides to save him. When the chase begins, she grabs Mimi's scooter, races toward Daniel and shouts, "Get on, quickly!" Daniel jumps on behind her, and together they manage to escape. Afterwards, she carefully treats Daniel's injuries. When Daniel learns about her grandmother's illness, he visits the hospital to check on her. Although she refuses to accept any direct financial help from him, Daniel refuses to give up. Instead, he encourages her to stay strong and helps her find a job at an arcade so she can work nearby while continuing to support her grandmother. At the same time, the girl continues earning money from her new job. Meanwhile, Daniel discovers that Jin is trying to sell his late mother's old house. The girl comes up with a clever plan, and together, they go to the house and stage it as if it were haunted. They scare away the potential buyer until the deal is canceled. While they are there, she notices many beautiful paintings and asks Daniel about them. However, he suddenly loses his temper because that room belonged to his mother. He responds harshly, making her feel embarrassed and hurt, so she quietly leaves. On her way home, she runs into her mother, Jenny, who reveals that she has been secretly keeping an eye on her the whole time. Jenny offers her even more money on the condition that she completely cut Daniel out of her life. Since her grandmother desperately needs expensive treatment, the girl reluctantly agrees. She blocks Daniel on every social media platform, cutting off all contact with him. Meanwhile, Daniel has been planning to apologize for what happened between them. When he discovers that she has blocked him everywhere, he is left completely stunned. Not long afterward, the girl discovers an old box containing evidence that her mother had lied to her for years. Inside are documents proving that Jenny stole the insurance money her late father had left for both her and her grandmother. She finally realizes that her mother was the true cause of all the suffering they endured. At that moment, she vows to take revenge and make Jenny lose everything, just as Jenny had destroyed their lives. When she learns that Daniel's father is hosting a lavish party featuring a famous music group, she sees it as the perfect opportunity to carry out her plan. Since entry requires an invitation, she decides to repair her relationship with Daniel. She apologizes for blocking him, explaining that she was upset and acted impulsively. Daniel, however, refuses to forgive her so easily. He deliberately ignores her and acts distant. Luhan notices everything and asks Daniel, "If you really don't care about her anymore, then why do you keep going to the place where she works every single day?" Luhan continues pressuring him, saying, "Stop pretending you don't care. You've already gotten even with her. If you truly love her, then go and make up with her." Eventually, Daniel calls her, and they agree to meet. She sincerely apologizes for everything and promises she will never treat him that way again. Daniel quickly forgives her, because his feelings for her have never disappeared. When he asks if there's anything she wants, she tells him about the huge party and mentions that the famous band performing there is her favorite. She says she's always dreamed of attending one of their concerts. Daniel promises that he'll get her into the event, and she happily accepts, knowing that her plan is unfolding exactly as she intended. Later, she remembers that it's Jin's birthday and goes to see him. She notices him stepping out of a luxurious car, but when she asks about it, he avoids the subject. Instead, she takes him up to a rooftop, surprises him with a birthday cake, and the two celebrate together. Before the evening ends, Jin asks her to visit a museum with him on the same day as the party. She agrees, but only after she finishes an important errand first. When she finally arrives at the party, a young man named Wayne deliberately spills juice on her in an attempt to humiliate her in front of everyone. Daniel immediately takes her to a private room, where he reveals that he had already prepared a beautiful dress and expensive makeup just for her. After she changes, Daniel is completely captivated by her beauty. But he doesn't stop there. He has another surprise waiting for her. He arranges for the band to perform her favorite song. The two share a dance together, and for the first time, her feelings for Daniel begin to grow even stronger. At the same time, guilt starts weighing heavily on her heart because she knows she is only using him to carry out her revenge. During the party, Daniel's father takes the stage and proudly presents the artwork of Daniel's late mother. However, he accidentally says her name incorrectly. Daniel immediately walks onto the stage and respectfully corrects him. Just then, the girl receives a phone call from the hospital. The doctors tell her they have finally found a kidney donor for her grandmother, but the operation will cost a huge amount of money. Determined not to leave the party empty-handed, she decides to take advantage of the opportunity. Seeing Jenny in the audience, she walks onto the stage and announces that she would like to introduce someone very important. She points directly at Jenny. Everyone is shocked, including Daniel's family and Jin. Jenny herself panics, believing that her long-hidden secrets are about to be exposed. Instead, the girl completely turns the situation around. She introduces Jenny as the kind woman who took her in and financially supported her after her father's death. Her speech transforms Jenny's public image overnight. The company's reputation improves. The guests are deeply moved, and many people offer financial support for both the girl and her grandmother. Jenny, however, is tormented from within. She knows that the girl is publicly praising the very person she hates more than anyone else. After the party, Daniel confronts her. He asks if everything she did, getting close to him, spending time with him, and earning his trust, was nothing more than a way to reach his family. She remains silent. Her silence is all the answer Daniel needs. He realizes that she really had been using him to carry out her plan. Heartbroken, he walks her part of the way home before quietly leaving, unable to hide his disappointment. When she gets home, Jenny confronts her once again. She offers the girl as much money as she wants, on the condition that she stay away from Daniel's family forever and keep all of their secrets buried. The girl reluctantly accepts the offer for the time being and takes the money. The very next day, however, she receives an unexpected invitation. Daniel's grandfather invites her to lunch because he wants to use her inspiring story as part of the company's public image campaign. During lunch, Daniel suddenly announces that he has given up on his dream of studying in America. Instead, he declares that he wants to stay in his own country and study fine arts. His announcement immediately sparks a fierce argument with his father. To help resolve the situation, one of the family members suggests that the girl could tutor Daniel while he prepares for university. When she hesitates because she lives too far away, the family proposes that she simply move into their house. Jenny is horrified and desperately tries to stop the idea, but Daniel immediately agrees, partly because he wants to make things difficult for her. Just like that, the girl's life changes completely as she moves into Daniel's home. Once there, Jenny secretly approaches her with a new deal. She promises that if the girl can convince Daniel to go to America after all, she will pay all of the expenses. The girl soon learns that Jenny is willing to pay for her grandmother's entire surgery, but only if she convinces Daniel to leave for America. Daniel's presence is preventing Jenny from securing her relationship with his father, so she wants him gone. The girl finds herself torn between saving her grandmother's life and betraying the one person who has stood by her through every hardship. Not long afterward, she discovers that Daniel has fallen ill. Despite everything that has happened between them, she makes him soup and takes care of him, even though he tries to act cold and distant. The following day, she runs after him to deliver the university acceptance file he accidentally left behind. While there, she overhears one of the professors criticizing Daniel's artwork, telling him that his paintings are nothing more than copies of his late mother's work and lack any originality or personal identity. Those words crush Daniel from the inside. Instead of taking advantage of his weakness, the girl decides to support him. She takes him to an orphanage, hoping that spending time with the children will inspire him and help him rediscover his creativity. Later, the two of them, along with Luhan and Mimi, spend the day at an amusement park. Because Daniel has a fear of heights, she stays by his side on every ride, making sure he never feels alone. Throughout the day, Daniel captures every special moment with his camera. When he returns home and watches the videos they recorded together, inspiration finally strikes. Filled with excitement, he immediately begins painting again with renewed passion. While Daniel is working on his painting, the girl enters his room and tells him that it is Mimi's birthday. She explains that everyone is planning a surprise for her. Together, they meet up with Luhan, who reveals that he intends to confess his feelings to Mimi that day. Encouraged by his friends, Luhan gathers the courage to go through with it. The group prepares a surprise in the school garden. The girl brings Mimi there under the excuse of reminiscing about old memories. As soon as Mimi arrives, she is amazed to find the garden beautifully decorated. Suddenly, Luhan jumps out of a large gift box and confesses his love to her in front of everyone. After giving the new couple some privacy, Daniel takes the girl to a quiet garden that his mother used to love. It was a place where she often found inspiration for her paintings. There, they discover a small stand filled with his mother's artwork. The girl is amazed by her incredible talent and finally understands why Daniel has always been so determined to become an artist like her. Daniel begins reminiscing about the happy memories he shared with his mother, and sadness fills his heart. The girl gently comforts him, telling him how proud his mother would have been of him. Her heartfelt words restore the confidence he had nearly lost. At one point, she falls asleep for a short while. When she wakes up, she discovers that Daniel has painted a beautiful portrait of her. She is overjoyed and sincerely thanks him for such a thoughtful gift. However, the moment they return home, Jenny corners the girl once again. She pressures her to convince Daniel to study abroad, reminding her that her grandmother's treatment depends on it. Just then, Daniel walks in, forcing Jenny to immediately change her attitude and pretend she was only making a friendly visit. After Daniel leaves the room, he comes back to give the girl the portrait he painted. But as soon as he is gone again, Jenny cruelly tears the painting to pieces right in front of her eyes. She insults the girl, belittles her, and reminds her of her place. Heartbroken, the girl carefully gathers the torn pieces and tries to tape them back together. The following day, they go to the workshop to clear their minds. While they are there, the girl suddenly breaks down in tears. She admits that she has been hurting someone who means more to her than anyone else. At that moment, Daniel realizes she is talking about him. He gently tells her that no matter what she has done, he has already forgiven her. The next day, Daniel attends the entrance examination for the College of Fine Arts. Unknown to him, Jenny has secretly stolen his portfolio beforehand, hoping he will fail the exam and be forced to leave for America. When the girl discovers what Jenny has done, she rushes to the university to return the portfolio. By the time she arrives, however, Daniel has already made a bold decision. Instead of relying on his missing portfolio, he creates a brand new painting right in front of the admissions committee. After the examination, they tell him that he has an excellent chance of being accepted. At the same time, Daniel learns a shocking truth from his aunt. She reveals that the girl is actually Jenny's biological daughter and was never adopted as everyone had believed. Daniel feels deeply betrayed because she kept such an important secret from him. Meanwhile, the girl's doctor delivers devastating news. Her grandmother's condition has become critical, and the surgery must be performed as soon as possible. Desperate, she searches everywhere for a loan, but manages to raise only part of the money. Left with no other choice, she decides to move out of Daniel's house and return to her old home. On her way back, she is confronted by Xing, the same dangerous troublemaker, and his gang. Before they can hurt her, Daniel arrives just in time to rescue her. He treats her injuries and safely escorts her home before quietly leaving. Not long afterward, an accident occurs at the hospital when a damaged water tank bursts, flooding part of the building. Eugene tries to help but is unable to fix the problem. Daniel arrives and manages to repair everything. Since his clothes are completely soaked, the hospital staff takes him away so he can change into dry clothes. During this time, another shocking secret comes to light. The girl learns that Jin is actually Daniel's half-brother from their father's side, the result of a secret relationship that had been hidden for years. She also notices that Daniel has discovered the loan documents and now knows how serious her financial situation really is. Daniel goes directly to the doctor himself and learns that her grandmother's life is in immediate danger and that they urgently need a huge amount of money for the operation. Putting all the pieces together, Daniel finally realizes that every painful decision the girl made was driven by her desperate attempt to save her grandmother. For the first time, he decides that he will be the one to make the sacrifice. Daniel goes straight to Jenny and agrees to all of her conditions. He promises to leave for America and stay away from his father's life forever, in exchange for Jenny paying every expense for the girl's grandmother's treatment. Jenny accepts the deal but insists on seeing proof that Daniel has actually left the country. Meanwhile, the girl prepares to sign the loan agreement. Before she can, Jenny calls her and tells her that the money will arrive soon. At the same time, Daniel begins selling the most valuable thing he owns, his beloved motorcycle, to raise the rest of the money and make absolutely certain that the grandmother's surgery can go ahead without delay. When the girl arrives at the hospital, the doctor tells her that a young man has already paid the remaining balance for the operation. She immediately realizes that Daniel is the one who did it, leaving her completely speechless and overwhelmed by the magnitude of his sacrifice. After learning about the enormous sacrifice Daniel made for her grandmother, the girl goes to the workshop and discovers that he is preparing to leave for America. She even sees him putting his beloved motorcycle up for sale. His sudden decision leaves her even more confused. Just then, she receives a video showing Daniel standing on the rooftop of a building, desperately trying to stop a young woman from taking her own life. Despite suffering from a severe fear of heights himself, he refuses to back away. The distraught girl tells him that her family forced her to separate from the person she loved, and that she no longer has any reason to keep living. The heroine rushes to the rooftop and desperately tries to persuade the young woman to step back. However, the girl lashes out, saying that someone with such a perfect life could never understand her pain. Those words cause the heroine to finally break down. She pours out the truth she has been hiding for so long, explaining that her father died when she was still a child. Her mother abandoned her. Her grandmother is critically ill and needs an expensive operation, and she was forced to give up her education and work any job she could find just to save enough money. Hearing her heartbreaking story, the young woman begins to realize that ending her life is not the answer. Just then, her mother suddenly arrives. Startled and overwhelmed, the girl loses her balance. Without thinking twice, Daniel lunges forward to save her, despite his overwhelming fear of heights. He manages to catch her at the very last second, but the effort causes him to lose his own footing As he falls, the heroine grabs hold of him, and the two plunge together off the rooftop. Fortunately, the rescue team has already arrived below, and they land safely on an emergency air cushion. When they wake up in the hospital, each of them immediately rushes to check on the other. The moment they meet, they embrace each other tightly, relieved that they both survived. After everything they have been through, the heroine decides that she will never keep another secret from Daniel again. But Daniel surprises her by revealing that he already knows the whole truth. There is nothing left to hide. For the first time, they speak openly about everything. Daniel tells her the painful story of his mother. She came from a wealthy family and truly loved his father, but she eventually discovered that he had been involved with another woman and had a son with her, Jin. Unable to bear the betrayal, Daniel's mother fell into deep depression. She isolated herself from everyone, spending all of her time painting until she eventually ended her own life. Daniel has carried that horrifying memory with him ever since, because he witnessed her death with his own eyes. Deeply moved by his confession, the heroine hugs him tightly and promises that she will always stay by his side. Later, Daniel invites her to his mother's old house. Without saying the words directly, he lets her know that he wants her to become a permanent part of his life. She doesn't reject him, but gently asks for a little more time before giving him her answer. The following day, she visits the hospital to check on her grandmother and is delighted to learn that she has been discharged because her condition appears stable. Happily, she takes her grandmother home. However, after the heroine leaves, her grandmother secretly asks the doctor to hide the truth from her. Although she has been discharged, her condition is still extremely serious, and she doesn't want her granddaughter to worry. The next day, the heroine spends a wonderful day with her grandmother, the happiest they have shared in a very long time. Later, her grandmother leaves the house, saying she is going to visit a friend. Hours pass, and she still hasn't returned. Then, the heroine receives a devastating phone call from the hospital. Her grandmother has collapsed in the street and passed away. The news completely shatters her. Meanwhile, Daniel has been waiting for her at their usual meeting place near the swimming pool, unaware of what has happened. After several hours without hearing from her, he decides to look for her. When he finally finds her in tears, he immediately realizes the terrible truth. Without hesitation, Daniel puts aside all of his own pain and stays with her through everything. He helps organize the funeral and supports her every step of the way. Even Jin and his mother choose to put aside their differences and stand beside her during her time of grief. The heroine feels unbearably alone, believing that no one truly cares about her anymore. But thanks to Daniel, the entire neighborhood comes to attend her grandmother's funeral. Even Fang, the man who had once helped her financially, arrives and reveals that Xing had been stealing from her and exploiting her all along. During the memorial service, Daniel surprises her with a video her grandmother recorded before she passed away. In the heartfelt message, her grandmother tells her to keep living, not to bottle up her sadness, and to lean on the people who genuinely love her. She also makes it clear that Daniel is someone worthy of her trust. The heroine is deeply moved by her grandmother's final words. After the funeral, Daniel returns home only to discover that Jenny is still thinking solely about herself and her marriage to his father. When she learns that the grandmother has passed away and that the deal she had made is now meaningless, she becomes frustrated because her plans have fallen apart. Meanwhile, the heroine remains alone in her grandmother's house. She refuses Jin's offer to move in with his family, determined to handle everything by herself. Exhausted both physically and emotionally, she falls asleep while accidentally leaving the gas stove on. If Daniel hadn't arrived when he did, tragedy would have struck once again. Realizing something is wrong, Daniel breaks down the door, rescues her before she can suffocate, and rushes her to the hospital. He stays by her bedside all night, without leaving her for even a moment. After saving her from the gas accident, Daniel remains with her throughout her hospital stay. He even brings Mimi and Luhan to cheer her up and help ease her sorrow. Despite their efforts, the heroine sinks into a deep depression. Even after she is discharged from the hospital, she refuses to return to her grandmother's empty house because she feels there is no longer anyone waiting for her there. Eventually, she breaks down completely. Through tears, she admits that she is exhausted from pretending to be strong after losing both her father and her grandmother. She confesses that she feels completely alone in the world. Wanting to help her heal, Daniel takes her to his late mother's old house so she can recover in a peaceful place. There, he, Mimi, Luhan, and everyone else surround her with love and support until she slowly begins to regain her strength. While talking about their childhood memories one day, she recalls a dream she had when she was little. She had always wanted a bicycle like the other children, but her father passed away before he could ever buy her one. Determined to fulfill that forgotten dream, Daniel secretly sets out to make it come true. The next morning, she opens the door and finds a brand new bicycle waiting outside the house. She soon learns that Daniel spent the entire night entering competitions and doing everything he could to earn enough money to buy it for her. As he gives her the bicycle, he makes her a heartfelt promise. Daniel promises that he will make all of her remaining dreams come true and that he will stay by her side no matter what happens. At the same time, Xing's crimes are finally exposed. His exploitation of the girl and the money he stole from her are brought to light. But instead of feeling remorse, he only grows even more resentful. When he learns that she is living alone, he and his gang break into her house, vandalize the place, and assault her. While they are attacking her, Daniel hears her screams over the phone and immediately rushes to save her. He fights off the gang until the police arrive and arrest them all. Afterwards, he reassures her that no one will ever hurt her again as long as he is by her side. Determined to help her rebuild her life, Daniel decides to help her fulfill another dream. He suggests buying the house so she can have a permanent home and never have to worry about paying rent again. Even after using all the money she has managed to save, she is still a little short. Without hesitation, Daniel pays the remaining amount himself. When she thanks him, Daniel simply asks her to repay the money whenever she is able to in the future. He tells her that what matters most to him isn't the money, it's that they can stay together. On his way home, Daniel receives shocking news that his grandfather has been rushed to the hospital in critical condition. He immediately hurries there, and the heroine goes with him. At the hospital, they are confronted by Jenny, who angrily tries to drive the heroine away from the family. However, her attempt fails when the heroine stands up to her, reminding Jenny that her own place within the family isn't secure either. Jenny then tries to manipulate the heroine, claiming that Daniel doesn't truly love her and only feels sorry for her. She also insists that every member of the family cares more about the inheritance than they do about the grandfather himself, but the heroine refuses to believe a single word. By now, she knows Daniel better than anyone else and defends him without hesitation. Meanwhile, Daniel decides to leave all of his old grudges behind and focus entirely on taking care of his grandfather in the hospital. The heroine chooses to remain by his side and support him, just as he had always supported her through every hardship she faced. For the first time, Jenny realizes the real danger before her. She can see that Daniel and the heroine's bond has become stronger than ever, and that they now trust each other completely. Realizing that she can no longer separate them with simple lies or manipulation, Jenny begins plotting something much bigger and far more dangerous. It is this plan that will ultimately tear the two lovers apart for many years, despite the deep love they have found in each other. And that's where the story ends. For now, the events yet to come will reveal how their heartbreaking separation begins and whether fate will eventually bring them back together again.